Most older men think that women today just aren't interested in them. They assume age has shut the door on attraction, but what if I told you that 97% of older men completely miss the real signs women use to show interest? Here's the truth. Women rarely walk up and say, "Hey, I like you." That's not how attraction works, especially when they're talking to a man they admire. Instead, they drop signals. Subtle, smart, and emotional cues, and most men never see them. Maybe she asks you a question she already knows the answer to, like, "Do you come here often?" Or, "What kind of coffee do you like?" She's not doing research, she's testing the connection. When a woman asks small, personal questions, she's not being polite, she's inviting conversation. That's her way of saying, "I want to know you." Older men, especially those who've been out of the dating world for years, often mistake this for friendliness. But friendliness ends at small talk. Interest lingers. She maintains eye contact a second longer, her voice softens, she plays with her hair or touches her neck while talking. Those are nonverbal invitations. And let's be clear, women today admire men who carry quiet confidence, not arrogance. When you smile back warmly, when you listen, when you don't rush to impress, but just be present. That's when she feels seen, and that's when attraction grows. Men often ask, "Why would a younger woman ever flirt with me?" The answer is maturity. Women crave emotional safety. They're drawn to men who've lived, learned, and can hold a meaningful conversation. You don't need six-pack abs to be attractive. You need grounded energy, eye contact, and respect. So next time a woman asks you a seemingly random question, don't shrug it off. Ask yourself, is she trying to connect? Chances are she is. And by being aware, you'll start noticing how many times this actually happens. 97% of men never learn this because they're busy assuming they're invisible. But you're not invisible, you're simply unaware. Once you start recognizing the signs, your confidence rises, your body language shifts, and your interactions become more natural. Remember, attraction isn't about chasing, it's about understanding. Women don't ask just to talk, they ask because they're curious about you. Recognize it, respond to it, and let connection grow where it's meant to. Most older men don't realize how many opportunities for real connection they miss every single day. They walk through life thinking women aren't interested, that age has made them invisible, that attraction belongs only to the young. But the truth is very different. Women today notice confident, mature men. They're just speaking a language most men no longer recognize. When a woman is interested, she rarely comes out and says it directly. Instead, she drops hints, gentle questions, curious glances, small touches of warmth that say, "I want to know more about you." The tragedy is that 97% of older men completely overlook these signs. Think about the last time a woman asked you something simple, like, "Do you live around here?" Or, "Where do you get your coffee?" You probably thought she was just being polite. But what if she wasn't? What if that was her way of testing the waters, of seeing if you'd engage, if you'd meet her halfway in conversation? Women rarely risk rejection outright. They signal first, softly, subtly, through behavior that looks innocent but carries intention. Her smile might linger. Her tone might soften. She might tilt her head slightly when you talk or laugh at something that wasn't even that funny. Those aren't coincidences. Those are quiet invitations. Older men often misinterpret these cues because they've been conditioned to believe attraction must be obvious. They think flirting is loud, physical, or filled with compliments. But mature attraction works differently. It's built on curiosity, emotional intelligence, and connection. A woman who admires your calm presence, your confidence, and your respect won't shout it out. She'll test it gently, hoping you're aware enough to notice. And when you miss it, she withdraws, assuming you're not interested. That's how countless opportunities fade before they even begin. What most men forget is that attraction isn't about age, it's about energy. A man who walks into a room with quiet confidence, who listens more than he talks, and who carries himself with grace will always draw attention. Women are deeply tuned into energy. They sense emotional maturity instantly. If you respond with warmth, eye contact, and genuine curiosity, you open the door to something deeper. You show her that you're present, not trying to impress, but simply being real. When women ask questions, they're not gathering information, they're building connection. Every question is an emotional bridge, an invitation to let her in. The moment you stop seeing those interactions as meaningless small talk and start recognizing them as signals, everything changes. Suddenly, you're no longer invisible, you're approachable, attractive, and aware. So don't underestimate those small questions or lingering smiles. They often mean more than the words themselves. Confidence isn't about chasing attention, it's about being open to receiving it. When you understand how women communicate interest, you shift from confusion to clarity, from being part of the 97% who miss the signs to the 3% who know exactly when a woman is trying to connect. That awareness is powerful, and it can change everything. Older men often confuse friendliness with politeness, and that small misunderstanding can completely change how they interpret a woman's interest. Most men over 50 have spent decades living in a world where people keep things formal, respectful, and distant. So when a woman smiles or starts a conversation, many assume she's just being kind or courteous. But there's a difference between being polite and being engaged, and women express that difference in ways that most older men simply don't notice. When a woman is just being polite, her body language is closed. She might smile quickly but then look away. Her tone stays neutral, and her words are short or practical. But when she's interested, truly interested, her entire energy changes. She leans in a little closer, her eyes stay on you longer, and her voice softens ever so slightly. She may laugh easily, ask follow-up questions, or find subtle reasons to keep the conversation going. It's not about what she says, but how she says it. That small emotional spark behind her curiosity is her way of signaling attraction. Older men, however, often dismiss these cues. Some even freeze up, unsure whether to respond, afraid of misreading the situation. They think she's just being nice and let the moment slip away. This hesitation doesn't come from lack of interest. It comes from lack of awareness. Years of social conditioning and fear of seeming inappropriate make men ignore or suppress their natural instincts. But here's the truth. Women are not going to make the first move the way men expect. They want to feel safe, understood, and respected, but they also want to feel desired. They'll initiate connection in small, emotionally intelligent ways, hoping you'll catch on. Let's take an example. Imagine you're sitting in a cafe and a woman sits near you. After a few minutes, she asks, "Do you know if this place has Wi-Fi?" You answer politely, maybe even smile, and go back to your drink. But if you were paying attention, you'd notice she already had her phone out. She didn't need that information. What she wanted was an opening, a reason to talk, and your reaction would tell her everything. Whether you were approachable, confident, and kind, recognizing these signals doesn't mean you have to become flirtatious or forward. It means you stay present and emotionally aware. Respond warmly, engage lightly, and maintain gentle eye contact. Let your confidence show through calmness, not arrogance. You don't have to overthink it. Just be attentive and genuine. When you start seeing beyond surface level politeness, you'll realize how many women are actually curious about you. They see your maturity, your calm energy, and your life experience as attractive. But connection only happens when you recognize the difference between a polite smile and a genuine invitation to connect. Once you understand that, you stop living in assumption and start living in awareness, and that's where real confidence begins. Women don't usually express interest the way men expect, through compliments, bold remarks, or direct advances. Instead, they use curiosity as their language of attraction. This subtle form of connection is what most older men overlook entirely. Women who are intrigued by you will ask questions that might seem random or small, but underneath, they carry a deeper meaning. They're not asking because they need information. They're asking because they want to open a door to conversation. It's their way of saying, "I'm giving you space to connect. Will you take it?" This curiosity often comes wrapped in everyday situations. Maybe she asks, "Do you come here often?" Or, "Where did you get that jacket?" She's not really after an answer. She's after your reaction. She wants to see how you respond, what kind of energy you give off, and whether you're confident enough to keep the conversation flowing. Women rarely risk rejection outright. They test the water with gentle curiosity. It's safer, subtler, and far more emotionally intelligent. Older men who've been out of the dating world for a while often misinterpret this. They think women today aren't interested in meaningful conversation or that they only go for younger guys. But that's not true. Many women, especially those who value depth and stability, are drawn to mature men. They admire calmness, life experience, and emotional control. What turns them off isn't age, but unawareness, the kind of energy that feels closed off or disinterested. When a woman shows curiosity, it's an invitation to show confidence without arrogance. The way you answer her question matters far more than what you say. If you give a dry, one-word answer, she'll sense hesitation or lack of interest. But if you respond playfully with a smile or a little humor, she feels your warmth. She feels that spark that tells her this man is comfortable with himself. And that, more than looks or status, is what truly attracts her. Men who understand this dynamic never rush. They know how to read tone, timing, and intention. They know when a question is just a question and when it's an opening. The difference lies in presence. When you're truly paying attention, you notice how she looks at you while waiting for your response, how her body slightly leans in, how she maintains eye contact just long enough for you to feel something. These are the silent signals that separate polite curiosity from romantic interest. Women appreciate men who recognize these signs respectfully. They want to feel seen but never objectified. If you respond with emotional intelligence, staying confident yet kind, you make her feel safe while keeping the spark alive. That's the balance that few men ever master. So remember, when she asks that simple question, pause for a moment. Look at her energy, her body language, her eyes. Ask yourself, is she really seeking information or is she seeking connection? Once you start noticing the difference, you'll realize that curiosity isn't random at all. It's her quiet way of saying, I'm interested, now it's your move. Body language, it's the silent language of attraction that speaks louder than any words ever could. Most older men underestimate just how powerful it is, and because of that, they miss out on clear signs of interest from women. While a woman's words may seem casual or friendly, her body often tells a much deeper story. When she's drawn to you, her entire energy shifts, her gestures soften, her movements become more open, and she unconsciously creates space for you to notice her. Understanding this silent communication is what separates men who stay unaware from those who confidently recognize genuine attraction. When a woman likes you, the first and most powerful signal usually comes through her eyes. She'll hold eye contact a moment longer than usual, giving a soft, lingering look before glancing away. That tiny delay, that extra second, is intentional. It's her way of saying, I see you and I want you to see me too. Sometimes she'll look away quickly, then look back again, almost as if she's checking whether you noticed her. That's not random. That's invitation through body language. Her posture also speaks volumes. If she's facing you directly, leaning slightly forward, or positioning her body toward you in a group setting, it's a subconscious way of aligning her attention with yours. When she mirrors your gestures, for example, sipping her drink right after you do, or crossing her legs the same way, it means her mind is syncing with yours. It's a natural, instinctive sign of rapport and connection. Small touches are another strong cue, though often overlooked. Maybe she brushes something off your sleeve, hands you something with a light touch, or lets her fingers linger when passing an object. These moments are filled with subtle emotional charge. They're safe, appropriate ways for her to test physical comfort and connection without being overt. If you respond with warmth and ease, she'll feel reassured and may continue building that quiet chemistry. Her voice changes too. When a woman is attracted, her tone becomes softer, slightly more melodic. She'll laugh more easily, her conversation will slow down, and she'll ask open-ended questions to keep things going. If she's nervous but interested, she might play with her hair, touch her neck, or adjust her clothes. These gestures aren't vanity. They're subconscious efforts to draw attention, to maintain your focus without saying a word. Many older men miss these cues because they're too focused on the literal conversation, not the emotional atmosphere. But attraction isn't about what's said, it's about the energy exchanged in between. Learning to read this silent language doesn't make you manipulative, it makes you aware. Awareness is confidence. So the next time you find yourself speaking with a woman who seems engaged, don't just listen to her words. Observe her rhythm, her gestures, her gaze. Women communicate interest not through direct statements, but through emotion expression and presence. Once you learn to read those signs, you'll realize how often they've been there, waiting for you to notice. Confidence and self-respect, these two qualities can make any man magnetic no matter his age. Most older men underestimate how powerful these traits are because they associate attraction with youth, physical appearance, or wealth. But women see things differently. What draws them in isn't how you look, it's how you carry yourself. The way you speak, move, and respond to the world says far more about you than your age ever could. True confidence is quiet. It doesn't try to prove anything. It simply exists steady, calm, and rooted in self-assurance. That's what makes a man unforgettable. When a man respects himself, it shows in how he treats others. He listens without interrupting, stands tall without arrogance, and maintains eye contact without intimidation. Women notice that instantly. They feel emotionally safe around a man who is grounded in his own worth. He doesn't need to brag, boast, or dominate the room. His presence alone does the talking, and this is something many younger men still struggle to master. That's why, for a confident older man, attraction comes naturally because his energy is rare. Confidence is also about comfort in your own skin. Many men, especially as they age, start to doubt themselves. They compare their looks, their success, their health, or their achievements to others. But insecurity shows through subtle behaviors, nervous laughter, avoiding eye contact, or trying too hard to impress. On the other hand, a confident man doesn't chase approval. He enjoys the moment, stays authentic, and doesn't fear silence in a conversation. That calm composure is what women find deeply attractive. It's not about perfection, it's about emotional maturity. Self-respect means setting boundaries, not allowing others to treat you poorly, and not overextending yourself to win affection. Women are drawn to men who have standards, who know their value, and who can say no with grace. It signals strength, and strength, when balanced with kindness, is magnetic. A man who values himself naturally inspires respect from others, and when a woman senses that, she feels safe to open up emotionally because she knows he won't lose himself trying to please her. Confidence also transforms body language. A self-assured man walks with relaxed shoulders, steady steps, and genuine ease. His smile is real, his handshake is firm, and his words are deliberate. Every gesture communicates stability. When a woman interacts with such a man, she senses trustworthiness, not because of what he says, but because of how he is. That's the quiet confidence that makes people lean in when you speak and remember you long after you leave. So if you want to attract attention without even trying, focus on cultivating inner confidence, stop chasing validation, and start appreciating your journey. You've earned wisdom, experience, and emotional strength, qualities that only time can build. Women notice that. They don't want perfection, they want presence. When you respect yourself fully, you automatically radiate the kind of confidence that draws others closer without a single word spoken. Awareness is the bridge between missed chances and meaningful connections. Most men go through life thinking attraction is something that happens by luck, that a woman either likes you or she doesn't. But the truth is, attraction often begins in awareness, noticing the small gestures, reading the subtle tones, understanding when someone is trying to connect but too shy or too cautious to say it outright. Once a man learns to recognize these signals, everything changes. He stops living in confusion and starts engaging with confidence. Awareness isn't about reading minds or playing games. It's about being present enough to observe what's happening around you, to sense when a conversation feels lighter, when eye contact lingers a moment too long, or when laughter carries an extra warmth. Many older men, after years of focusing on responsibilities, work, and family, forget how to stay emotionally tuned in. They're used to logic, not intuition, but women communicate emotionally. They speak through energy, through feeling. If you learn to listen to that side of interaction, you unlock a completely new level of connection. Think of awareness as emotional intelligence in motion. It's the ability to feel what someone else is feeling without them having to explain it. When a woman leans in, asks personal questions, or seems genuinely curious about your life, an aware man doesn't dismiss it. He engages. He asks something back. He smiles. He deepens the moment. That's how attraction grows, not through lines or tricks, but through presence. Women love men who are present because presence feels safe and rare in a world full of distraction. Once you develop awareness, you begin to see how many signs you've overlooked. The woman at the cafe who made small talk about the weather wasn't just bored. She was giving you a moment. The woman who complimented your jacket wasn't necessarily talking about fashion. She was testing comfort. The woman who asked if you were married wasn't just curious. She was gauging if you were available. These signals are not accidents. They're deliberate, emotional steps women take to open doors. But you can only walk through them if you're aware enough to notice. Awareness also transforms your confidence. When you can read the room, sense energy, and understand social cues, you stop doubting yourself. You no longer question, is she interested? You know when there's a spark, and that knowledge gives you calm certainty instead of anxiety. It makes you authentic. You stop trying to force connections and start allowing them to unfold naturally. Every man has missed signs in the past. That's normal. But once you awaken awareness, you step into the 3% of men who see the world differently. You start noticing details others miss, a look, a tone, a gesture. And in that awareness lies the power to connect deeply, confidently, and meaningfully. Attraction isn't magic, it's observation. The more aware you are, the more opportunities you'll find waiting right in front of you. So, gentlemen, the truth is simple but powerful. Attraction isn't lost with age, awareness is. Women don't stop showing interest, most men just stop recognizing it. The difference between a man who thinks he's invisible and a man who feels desired again lies in his ability to see what's been there all along. Every smile, every glance, every curious question is a doorway waiting to be opened, but only by a man who's awake enough to notice. You've earned your experience, your calmness, your wisdom. Those are not weaknesses. They are your greatest advantages. A confident older man who listens, who pays attention, and who values connection over performance is incredibly attractive. You don't have to chase anyone. You just have to see them. When you start noticing the subtle ways women reach out, you'll realize how much of life you've been walking past unnoticed. So from this moment forward, walk a little slower, look a little closer, and listen a little deeper. Because attraction doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. And when you finally learn to hear it, you'll discover that the spark was never gone. It was just waiting for you to pay attention.